We are all very saddened to have to be here this afternoon, having this press conference talking about one of the most horrific days in our department's history. Yesterday, where, for no known reason at all, a violent gunman attacked our officers, firing multiple rounds, striking three of them, two of them critical and stable condition, and one of them deceased. This is it's an unconscionable act. It's hard to fathom. It's unbelievable that something like this would happen in our community. Many of us think a lot of stuff can't happen, and this happened. So our entire department right now, and I'm sure our community, is very heartbroken, and we're all walking with very heavy hearts. Officer Jake Welleen, 23 years old, sworn into our department just less than 3 months ago, April 24th, 2023, right here in this very commission chamber. An individual who was also a military veteran, serving in the Minnesota National Guard, went on numerous deployments, including Afghanistan, served his country, came back here, and wanted nothing more but to serve in a position with purpose and meaning. These exact words. And he did that. And he was a member of our family. And he's been taken from us far too soon. And it's a tragedy. Our condolences, our heartfelt sympathies go out to Jake Welleen's family, his friends. Please keep all of them in your thoughts and prayers in the days going forward as we prepare to properly honor him in the future. Officer Andrew Dotis and Officer Tyler Howes were also significantly injured in this incident, receiving gunshot wounds, and as I said earlier, are currently in critical, stable condition, recovering. We're praying for their recovery, not just in general, but their full recovery. We met with them earlier today as well. And Officer Zach Robinson, who was also at this particular scene, it was the officer who was able to shoot and ultimately kill this suspect, ending the threat and preventing future harm to others, is also in our thoughts and prayers as well. Suspect, 37-year-old Mohammed Barakat, is deceased. We are not in a position to provide many details in terms of the actual incident itself. As you know, in these types of incidents, we turn them over to other entities. We have a plethora of partners who quickly reached out to assist us and continue to assist us today, that we're very thankful for. Many of them are standing behind me right now. The investigation has been turned over to the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation. I want to thank Attorney General Wrigley and Director Lonnie Grabowska for their quick response and assistance in this really horrific event. Along with BCI, the FBI is involved, and together they are actively working this investigation. First thing we always want to know in a situation like this is why. Why would somebody do this? What happened? Our officers were out there performing their duties, investigating what we would say was a routine traffic accident. They were doing what they were supposed to be doing. As they did that, for whatever reason, this individual began firing at them, striking three of them. They also fired shots at the firefighters who were also on scene attending to the crash victims. Fortunately, none of them were struck. One of their trucks was struck by gunfire. No known reason for this. I think down the road, we will know the whys. I'm confident that our partners in BCI and FBI, as they work through this particular investigation, will put the pieces of the puzzle together as to why this individual chose to do this. The FBI has also assisted with victim advocacy for the family, and we're very thankful for that as well. As you can imagine, this was a very traumatic event for everyone that was working, not only the officers on the scene, but the officers that had to respond to this. The first several minutes were very chaotic. Our officers performed admirably, and I'm very proud of them for their actions, quick thinking, and calmness under fire. They did a tremendous job, not only trying to protect each other, but protecting our community. I met with both Andy and Tyler earlier today at the hospital. They're both in good spirits, but they still have significant recovery time. And so their struggle continues. We hope to have them back as soon as possible. I also met with family members of both Andy and Tyler, sat down with all of them, answered their questions, tried to explain to them the course of the investigation, what they might expect in the future, and really just let them know that we're here to support them at every step. And so just as we work hard to support each other in times like this, the family is very important to us. And we're there working with them to try and ease their pain in the system in any way that we can. We'll be meeting with our department members in the next day or so, individually as well, to check in on them. Many of them are dealing with this in different ways. We want to make sure that we're taking care of them and that we can ease them back into their very important positions. In the meantime, we want to thank our local partners for their assistance in taking calls for service and assisting us with peer support services. Cass County Sheriff's Office, West Fargo PD, Clay County Sheriff, Moorhead PD have helped us in all of those areas. We also had assistance from the Minnesota State Patrol, who went down and brought some of our family members up here from Minnesota so they could be here with their loved ones. Also our partners at the Dispatch Center, Fargo Fire Department, Sanford Ambulance and Hospital, who have provided tremendous service to our personnel. We had firefighters on scene. We had an ambulance nearby, just out of coincidence. They were, as soon as the shots ended, as soon as that guy was stopped by Officer Robinson, firefighters bounced out and they were applying first aid immediately to our officers. Probably had a very significant impact on their survival. Unfortunately, Officer Willeen was fatally injured and there was nothing that could be done by those firefighters. I also want to recognize the excellent support of our community. Our community has come forward in huge ways to support our officers. I think that means a lot to them, to the department, to see that, to know that people care about them, as well as our local commissioners, state and federal elected officials who we've heard from over the course of the last 24 hours. Governor Burgum was significant in providing some assistance as well, and we greatly appreciate that. So as we try and make sense of something that we're not able to make sense of at the moment, we've got some pretty trying days ahead as we plan to honor and lay to rest Officer Jake Willeen, and also physically and mentally heal our department family. Along with that, our community must also heal. This was a heinous and unthinkable act of aggression against our officers and against our community. That type of behavior obviously cannot stand. So if you just join me for a moment of silence in honor of Officer Willeen. Please keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers as we prepare an appropriate and honorable send-off for Officer Willeen. We'll update our community so that you can be part of that event and give thanks to him as well for his sacrifice as a guardian of our community. Also keep Officer Dotis, Officer Hawes, and his family in your thoughts and prayers as well as they work to recover from these significant injuries as a result of this incident. And lastly, all of our folks here who, in very short order, will be back out there on a 24/7 basis serving all of you, regardless of the risk, unknowing sometimes of what they're walking into, but serving nonetheless because they know that they are serving in a profession with purpose. They know that they are guardians of the community and that they serve they have a significant place in the safety of our community. With that, I'll take any questions. Just bear in mind that I can't answer any questions about the investigation, evidence, etc. at this juncture.
Nick?
Just for clarity, Chief, you had said that the suspect was shot. Was this at the scene of the crash or at the apartment that was being searched by officers further down 25th?
All of that activity took place on 25th and 9th Avenue South.
How did he get to the apartment?
What's that?
How did he get to the apartment from the crash site?
How did he?
The suspect, sorry.
He was on the scene.
Okay.
Chief, condolences to you and the entire department. With regard to the suspect, what do we know about him? How long had he lived in the city for? Do we have any background information on him? And one last one, with regard to FBI involvement, is that a standard operating procedure in this type of situation? And thank you.
Sure. Regards to the suspect, all I can tell you is that he's 37 years old and he's currently a Fargo resident. We don't have any additional background on him. And BCI and the FBI are working on this investigation, and that's information that they would have. There's also information you might obtain public record-wise. I'm not privy to his previous record at this time. The other piece about the FBI, again, as I mentioned earlier, when we have situations like this, especially where law enforcement officers are shot, killed, 3 officers involved at one crack, it's not unusual at all for federal partners to jump in and offer assistance. We know that we have firearms involved, so oftentimes that's could involve the ATF, the FBI, any of these other federal partners as the investigation unfolds and they determine questions that some of you have asked before. Where did the gun come from? How did he get the gun? The whys of this whole thing. And that's what they're working tirelessly on right now. And so we're going to let them do that work. And when they're ready to present their findings publicly, we'll all stand together and keep everybody informed.
Chief, are you aware of any previous interaction with this suspect and police department?
I believe that we have had contact with him, but nothing significant. Police contact, but I don't have the specifics at this moment.
Chief, my question is regarding to the weapon involved in this incident. We had heard multiple eyewitness reports that they had heard or seen rapid automatic gunfire. Can you confirm or deny whether the suspect did have an automatic weapon or was he using a semi-automatic and just firing rapidly?
I cannot. I don't know that answer.
Chief, for starters, we just want to say from all of us at Valley News that our hearts are with you all throughout this process, and to the victim's family, our hearts are with you. One of the questions we did have, though, was what was your thought process on surrounding your timeline of alerting the community of the seriousness of the incident?
I'm not sure I get the gist of your question.
I think a lot of people were confused about the incident since it was deemed as a critical incident on social media. We've had a lot of people reaching out to us wondering why there wasn't a little bit more notice regarding the seriousness of the situation.
Well, I don't know the timeline of the press releases on that, but an officer-involved critical incident does involve guns, can involve some other dangerous or fatal acts. So I think that's just standard terminology that I guess we would anticipate people understood to be significant.
Chief Zabolski, was this an ambush? Was he involved in the collision? And did he await the arrival of first responders?
The investigation into that is still ongoing. It does not appear that he was part of the collision, but again, I would have to defer to BCI and their investigative findings.
Chief Sapolsky, as we all deal with this dark time, for the community, what words of encouragement do you give them as they deal with the emotions of knowing that, as you said, this malicious act happened in their area?
Well, I think it's been an emotional time for everybody and will continue to be so. I think our community can find solace in the fact that, again, while this really horrific act happened, in the midst of that, we still had other officers responding and taking action at risk to themselves as well, neutralizing that threat to prevent harm to others, and then working diligently to investigate and see if there's any other prongs to this. I think our department does very well at all of that. I think our community from this incident can really take away the bravery, the courage, and the commitment that all of our officers have. 2 out of 3 of these officers that are shot, they started together. They've got 3 months and they're still in training and they're in the midst of the fight. The other officer, Andy Dotis, 6-year veteran, one of the trainers, and Zach Robinson, also a trainer with many years on the force. So I think it speaks volumes to their bravery and their commitment.
Can you speak to Officer Wallin a little bit more? Who was he as a person and what did he mean to the department?
Yeah, he meant a lot to the department. We've got actually a little video vignette that we would like to play for everyone to give you a little flavor of what Jake Wallin was like. Had an excellent sense of humor. I remember when he first started on day 1, I've kind of got the honor of instructing the first session for the new recruits. So one of the first things we do is kind of go around the table, learn everyone's name. And, if you look at his name, it kind of looks like it's pronounced Wallin. So I'm like, okay, Jake Wallin, how do you say that? He goes, no, it's Wallin. He said, just like that, and everybody laughs. So just, day 1, kind of a funny guy, very smart, was very impressive as he went through the academy, and he was doing well out in field training as well. And it's just really a sad tragedy that he's no longer with us. But I think we want to play this video just exactly to your question.
Throughout my entire life, I've always wanted to work in some sort of position that had purpose behind my job, and police officer is always what kind of came to me. I've tried other careers, but I came right back into law enforcement as a career path I wanted to go through. Hi, I'm Jake Wallin. I'm from St. Michael, Albertville, Minnesota, and I've been to more countries than I have been states. My desire to serve, it comes directly from the want to have purpose behind my job each and every day. I don't want to be sitting in an office wondering why I'm here every day. I want to be out. I want to be doing something that I can tell myself at the end of the day I made a difference somehow.
So that's Jake Wallin. We lost a good member of our department, a good member of our family. And our hearts go out to him and his family.
Chief Cebulski, first off, condolences for everything that everyone's going through in this situation. The last time Fargo lost a police officer, they were relatively quick in releasing his name. So I was wondering if you could walk us through the thought process of what kept the police department, if there was any extra alert to family or investigations that you had to walk through before letting the public know who the officers are in this situation.
Sure, and I think this is actually very quick. But we did have out-of-state families that we had to reach. That was difficult. And as I said earlier, the Minnesota State Patrol really helped us significantly in one of those instances. So I think less than 24 hours is pretty fast to release a name. And there's all, when you're trying to locate folks and figure out kind of what was happening. Sure.
I just want to make one comment. You asked a couple questions about safety of the community, and the community was safe, and the releases were sent out as quick as we could. To the community, we're safe, but this is a tribute to the training of our team. The firemen and the policemen did the right thing and contained the shooter. Basically, less people got injured. Unfortunately, our people got injured. To your question about why we took some time to get the press release and get this done, was we felt after Mosher's death, we felt very strongly we need to take care of our police family. We need to inform the people that need to be informed. We need to talk to the families. If you go up to the hospital now, there's a police officer outside every room. There's a police officer with the family. There is a community that's out there. If you don't think we're safe in Fargo, all our partners will step up around the state. We will have more support than you've ever seen. We have 2 young men that are fighting for their lives in the hospital. We have excellent care, just like the football player that went down in the football field. If everybody had not done their job as they were trained to do, we could have 2 more fatalities. Our community is a community that stands up for each other and works with each other, and will continue to do that. Chief Cebulski and his leadership team has done an excellent job in this area. I couldn't be prouder of that team, but they're human too. This hurts. This is hard to take. And we never wanted to see it in our community. Now we've seen it, an active shooter that was fatal to one of our police officers.